Okay.
And the key factor for me is when somebody does something I don't want them to do, or they won't do something I want them to do.
Okay.
And it's just wanting things to be different than they are, and that's crazy. Talking to people that isn't there, that's crazy too. But always wanting things to be different than they are, all that means is you will never feel peace.
Yeah.
Never. You'll always be angry. You'll always be hurt. You'll always be disappointed. So that's the key factor in the insanity of alcoholism, is we want things to be different than they are, and it's very difficult to look at your life and say the kids aren't doing what I want them to do, the people at work aren't doing what I want them to do, uh, I don't have as much money as I should have. So we have all these different things that we get upset about. And you've heard of the flight or fight response, right?
Yeah.
That if you're walking through the bush and you see a bear, your digestion stops, adrenaline goes into your bloodstream, your muscles get tight. So you can either fight that bear or run away, fight or flight. And we live like that all the time when we're drinking, because we're always in flight or fight response. And that's really hard on your heart. It's really hard, and that's why a lot of people who drink have ulcers. It isn't because of the booze, it's because they're mad all the time. So their stomach is full of acid, and that eats holes in their stomach, and then they get ulcers. So the main sort of thing, the main thing in recovery, like there's a lot of detailed things that we need to do in recovery, but the main thing in recovery is to learn to accept reality the way it is. And when you fought reality your whole life, that's not easy. That's not easy at all, because we want things to go our way. And that's a big problem, is that we want things to go our way. They're not going to go our way. And we're going to be upset for the rest of our life. So that's really when people move into recovery, they like I say, a lot of people will go to enough meetings so they can stay sober, but they don't deal with the wound. Yeah, and that's the thing that we're dealing with now by doing the steps, is we're dealing with the wound. So did we read step 4 out of the book?
Yeah.
We did, eh? So we're on step 5 now.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we read step 5 first, and then we can do it.
Okay.
Here, just let me mark my list of the book here.
We didn't read step 4, isn't it? No.
We didn't read step 4, did we?
No.
Okay, well we'll read step 4 first,
Okay.
so that we know what we're looking for. I got highlighted. I highlighted some of the parts in there in this new book.
Okay. 1 second. Can you drink the tea? Right? It will go. Drink tea. You want sugar?
No, that's good like that.
Okay. Okay. Start.
Okay. First we pray.
Yeah.
God,
God.
we're here to do your steps that you gave us to help us recover from our alcoholism and our other addictions. And we're going to do these steps together, and we ask that you guide us so that we learn what you want us to learn, and we can see what we need to see so that we can get our life back. And we pray this because we believe it's your will for us to heal. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, I'll start.
Yeah.
Step 4. We made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Creation gave us instincts for a purpose. Without them, we wouldn't be complete human beings. If men and women didn't exert themselves to be secure in their persons, made no effort to harvest food or construct shelter, there would be no survival. If they didn't reproduce, the earth wouldn't be populated. If there were no social instinct, if men cared nothing for the society of one another, there would be no society. So these desires for the sex relation, for material and emotional security, and for companionship are perfectly necessary and right and surely God-given. Yet these instincts, so necessary for our existence, often exceed their proper function. Powerfully, blindly, sometimes subtly, they drive us, dominate us, and insist upon ruling our lives. Our desires for sex, for material and emotional security, and for an important place in society often tyrannize us. When thus out of joint, man's natural desires cause him great trouble, practically all the trouble there is. No human being, however good, is exempt from these troubles. Nearly every serious emotional problem can be seen as a case of misdirected instinct. When that happens, our great natural assets, the instinct, have turned into physical and mental liabilities. Step 4 is our vigorous and painstaking effort to discover what these liabilities in each of us have been and are. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for where the mental illness shows up in our life, specifically. We want to find out exactly how, when, and where our natural desires have warped us. We wish to look squarely at the unhappiness this has caused others and ourselves. By discovering what our emotional deformities are, we can move toward their correction. Without a willing and persistent effort to do this, there can be little sobriety or contentment for us. Without a searching and fearless moral inventory, most of us have found that the faith which really works in daily living is still out of reach. Before tackling the inventory problem in detail, let's have a closer look at what the basic problem is. Simple examples like the following take on a world of meaning when we think about them. Suppose a person places sex desire ahead of everything else. In such a case, this imperious urge can destroy his chances for material and emotional security, as well as his standing in the community. Another may develop such an obsession for financial security that he wants to do nothing but hoard money. Going to the extreme, he can become a miser or even a recluse who denies himself both family and friends. Nor is the quest for security always expressed in terms of money. How frequently have we seen a frightened human being determined to depend completely upon a stronger person for guidance and protection? This weak one, failing to meet life responsibilities with his own resources, never grows up. Disillusionment and helplessness are his lot. In time, all his protectors either flee or die, and he is once more left alone and afraid. We have also seen men and women who go power mad, who devote themselves to attempting to rule their fellows. These people who throw to the winds every chance for legitimate security and a happy family. Whenever a human being becomes a battleground for the instincts, there can be no peace. And peace is what we're looking for in recovery. But that is not all the danger. Every time a person imposes his instincts unreasonably upon others, unhappiness follows. If the pursuit of wealth tramples upon people who happen to be in the way, then anger, jealousy, and revenge are likely to be aroused. If sex runs riot, there is a similar response, uproar. Demands made upon other people for too much attention, protection, and love can only invite domination or revulsion in the protectors themselves, two emotions that are quite as unhealthy as the demands which evoke them. When an individual's desire for prestige becomes uncontrollable, whether in the sewing circle or in the international conference table, other people suffer, and often revolt. This collision of instincts can produce anything from a cold snub to a blazing revolution. In these ways, we are set in conflict not only with ourselves, but with other people who have instincts too. So I'll stop there, and we can talk about what they're saying. And what they're saying is that we have these instincts, but they go out of balance.
Yeah.
You know, and what we're looking for is we're looking for some kind of satisfaction, some kind of contentment, and so we often will try to make other people do what we want them to do, and that pisses them off.
Yeah.
And then they tell us to take a fucking hike.
Yeah.
Tell somebody else what to do. Don't tell me what to do. That's what they say. And he's talking about our desires for sex and for material and emotional security. Those are the three things that are the main things that happen in our lives. Our desire for a sex relation, like a wife or a husband or whatever, and also for emotional and material security. We want to have a decent place to live. We want to have a decent car to drive. So we're looking for emotional security by in our friendships with other people. If we feel accepted by other people, then it's easier for us to accept ourselves. So that's the emotional security. And material security is the car and the house and the clothes and all the things that we want to get. But what it's really talking about here is without a searching and fearless moral inventory, most of us have found that the faith which really works in daily living is still out of reach. And the reason why it's out of reach is because we're not trusting God. We're going to do it ourselves. It's like for the first 9 months of your life before you're born, you trust God completely. You think to yourself, I hope I get a nose. And if I get a nose, I hope it's in the right place, because you're developing into a human being, into a person. And then after 9 months you come out, and then the parents say to God, we got it from here. We'll take care of this kid now. God, you can go take a coffee break or do whatever it is that you do. We're gonna look after this kid. And then that's when it all starts. And if we don't get what we need, if we need to be the focus of our parents' attention. We need to be important to our parents. But if our parents drink, we're not. So we sit there and we get ignored when we're supposed to be loved and cared for, and that hurts us. And that's the thing is it hurts us, and we don't want to feel hurt. So we drink, we gamble, like some people, they watch the internet on porn, but there's also people who watch the internet that don't watch porn. They're on the internet 10 or 12 hours a day. They ignore their kids, they ignore their wife, they ignore their husband, and they just are on the internet all the time. That's their addiction, is the internet. And so what we're trying to do here, and what these first couple of pages are, is they explain the problem that we do have. It's the next sentence is, alcoholics especially should be able to see that instincts run wild in themselves is the underlying cause of their destructive drinking.
Mm-hmm. That's the second paragraph?
Yeah, this one right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the problem. The problem is that we have these things that we want, but we always want more of them than we're ever going to get.
Mm.
And like I say, it would be like living in Alberta and wanting it to be like Florida. Every time the winter comes, you'd be very disappointed because the winter here is nothing like Florida.
Mm.
The winter here is awful.
Mm.
So we can either accept winter or we can be pissed off for 6 months a year because it's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the only two choices we have.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to read for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can read that alcoholics, especially start there.
If however, isn't it?
Hmm?
If, from here, isn't it?
Right here.
Oh, alcoholics.
Alcoholics especially.
Alcoholics especially should be able to see that instinct run wild in themselves is the underlying cause of their destructive drinking. We have drunk to drown feeling of fear, frustration, and depression. We have drunk to escape the guilt of passions, and then have drunk again to make more passions possible. We have drunk for vainglory, that we might the more enjoy foolish dreams of pomp and power. This perverse soul sickness is not present to couple instincts on rampage about at investigation. The minute we make a serious attempt to probe with probe them, we are liable to suffer severe reactions. If temperamentally we are on the depressive side, we are apt to be swamped with the guilt and self-loathing. We wallow in the messy bog, often getting a mishappen and painful pleasure out of it, as we morbidly pressure this melancholy activity. We sink to such a point of despair that nothing but oblivion looks possible as a solution. Here, of course, we have lost all perspective and therefore all genuine humility. For this is pride in reserves. This is not a moral inventory at all. It is the very process by which the depressive has so often been led to the bottle and extinction. If, however, our natural disposition is inclined to self rightness or gratitude, our reaction will be just the opposite. We will be offended at a suggested inventory. No doubt, we shall point with pride to the good lives we thought we led before the bottle cut us down. We shall claim that our serious character defects, if we think we have any at all, have been caused chiefly by excessive drinking. This being so, we think it logically follows that sobriety, first, last, and all the time, is the only thing we need to work for. We believe that our own one time good characters will be revived the moment we quit alcohol. If we were pretty nice people all along, except for our drinking, what need is therefore a moral inventory now that we are sober? We also clutch at another wonderful excuses for avoiding an inventory. Our present anxieties and troubles we cry are caused by the behavior of our other people who really need a moral inventory. We firmly believe that if it only they had treat us better, we had be all right. Therefore, we think our indignation is justified and reasonable, that our resentments are the right kind, we are in the guilty one. They are. At this stage of the inventory proceedings, our responses come to the rescue. They can do this, for they are the carriers of AA's tested experience with the step 4. They comfort the melancholy one by first showing him that his case is not strange or different, that his character defects are probably not more numerous or worse than those of anyone else. In a, this is the sponsor promptly proves by taking freely and easily and without exhibitionism about his own defects, past and present. This calm yet realistic stockings is immensely reassuring. The sponsor probably points out that the newcomer has come assets which can be noted along with his liabilities. This tends to clear away morbidity and encourage balance. As soon as he begins to be more objective, the newcomer can fearlessly, rather than fearfully, look at his own defects. The sponsors of those who feel they need no inventory are confronted with quite another problem. This is because people who are driven by pride of self unconsciously blind themselves to their abilities. This newcomers scarcely need comforting. The problem is to help them discover a chink in the walls their ego has built, through which the light of reason can shine. First off, they can told that the majority of AA members have suffered severely from self-justification during their drinking days. For most of us, self-justification was the maker of excuses. Excuses, of course, for drinking and for all kind of crazy and damaging conduct. We had made the invention of alibis a fine art. We had to drink because times were hard or times were good. We had to drink because at home we are smothered with love or got none at all. We had to drink because at work we were great success or dismal failures. We had to drink because our nation had won a war or lost a peace. And so it went. Ad infinitum. We thought conditions drove us to drink. And when we tried to correct these conditions and found that we couldn't to our entire satisfaction, our drinking went out of hand and we became alcoholics. It never occurred to us that we needed to change ourselves to meet conditions, whatever they were. But in AA, we slowly learned that something had to be done about our vengeful resentments, self pity, and unwarranted unwarranted pride. We had to see that every time we played the big shot, we turned people against us. We had to see that when we harbored grudges and planned revenge for such defeats, we were really beating ourselves with the club of anger we had intended to use on another. We learned that if we were seriously disturbed, our first need was to quit that disturbance, regardless of who or what we thought caused it.
Okay, you want to stop there?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, now they're getting. See, I'm going to take my jacket off. It's warm in here. The whole thing is that the conflict that we feel is a cause. The cause of the conflict that we feel is that deep down inside, like my sponsor used to tell me, you know what your biggest problem is? And I'd say, no, what's my biggest problem? He said, your biggest problem is that you think you know what's good for yourself. And I said, well, of course I know what's good for myself. And he said, you drank your life down the drain, you were puking blood, you lived on Skid Row, you drank shaving lotion, you were homeless. How can you sit there and say you know what's good for yourself? I said, well, I quit. And he said, yeah, because you didn't want to die. That's the only reason you quit. And that's the whole thing, is that we have this idea that we think that we know how our life should go. And then when our life doesn't go according to that image that we have in our mind, that's when we get upset. And they're talking about some specific things here, like nursing grudges. Like it says, we had to see that when we harbored grudges and planned revenge for such defeats, we were really beating ourselves with the club of anger we had intended to use on others. And for a lot of people, resentments is the biggest cause of unhappiness for them, because people won't do what they want them to do, so they get mad at them, and they think, oh, I'll get that son of a bitch. I'll get even with him. I'll wait. I'll get a chance. You know, and so there they are, and they got acid in their belly. They got adrenaline in their bloodstream, and they're mad at this other person. I remember one time when I was living in Edmonton, there was a guy from Winnipeg, and he had this resentment against a guy in Winnipeg that he grew up with and went to school with. And he was always talking about this cocksucker. He used to call him a cocksucker. This cocksucker in Winnipeg. This cocksucker did this, and this cocksucker did that. And he'd get right animated, you know. He'd get all worked up about this cocksucker. So his sponsor said, look, you can't keep fucking doing this to yourself. You're going to get drunk. You need to go to Winnipeg, talk to this fucking guy, and get this resolved. So he went to Winnipeg. The guy had been dead for 7 years. So he hated a dead guy. He hated a dead guy for 7 years.
Oh.
Yeah. So the guy was dead. He got killed in a car accident.
Okay.
But this guy was hating him and upsetting his stomach and upsetting his mind, and he was always angry. Like you said, you talked about anger. I got a problem with anger. This guy had a problem with anger. He was mad at this cocksucker in Winnipeg. And the guy was dead. You know? Yeah. So he wasted all those years of hating a dead guy. And so the purpose of the steps isn't to make us feel bad. It's to help us understand how we live our life in a way that causes this conflict. How we are relating to other people and relating to situations on the job and at home, with our friends, with like I knew this one guy in Edmonton. His name was Tim, but nobody called him Tim. Everybody called him Angry Tim because he was always mad about something. He was on these resentments, and it was killing him. I mean, he had ulcers. He could never sleep worth a shit because he was just mad at everybody about everything all the time. But the main idea he was mad was because he thought he knew what was best. Any alcoholic could look at his life and say, I don't think I know what's best for me because look at my life. It sucks. And that's the thing, is that if we can give up thinking we know what's best and accept that God knows what's best, then things can start to change.